Oh, at the New York World's Fair, we were walking down the mall or whatever it was called, and suddenly there was a cloud burst. And the closest building that we were to was on our right side, and we ran in there, and it was the Mormon Pavilion. And we had known of one person that was a Mormon, but we had never known more than that person. And so we had the whole tour, guided tour with the film and statues and lovely wall posters and things. And as we were getting ready to leave, there was this booklet you were supposed to sign your name and what you thought about it. And so I wrote a few sentences. Didn't think they were that spectacular, but 2 weeks to the very day that we were there, knock knock on our door in Pelham, New Hampshire, were 2 missionaries. And I was very surprised. And so I invited them to come back, not that evening, but the next evening, because then my husband would be home and the children would be there too. That started it all.
Basically, when we lived here in Mapleton the first time, and I remember Bonnie Jivitan. She was my visiting teacher, and she came to visit with me, and we became good friends. And I remember we had 4 acres at the time, and I remember that one of the days that our basement was being flooded, and she came over and helped me do what I needed to do because Merrill was out of town. And the girls, Debbie and Karen, slept downstairs, and they had to wear their boots, their rain boots, to get in and out of bed. And they did. And they'd lay down there and talk and giggle and so on and so forth. It was no big deal to them. They thought it was fun.
I was born in Tabor, Alberta. I was born at home. Sister Pearson was mother's midwife when I was born. And we were happy as we could be. We didn't know that we had less than somebody else had. We didn't have much income. And we lived in a 2-room house with a privy down I don't know, 100 yards from the house. And we had horses. My dad had a team of horses. We had a cow. We had pigs. And anyway, this 2-room house housed 5 children and Mom and Dad. And we had cold running water. We did not have hot running water. One time Mom was so distraught, she didn't know what to have for dinner, and so she had us pick some pigweed, and she hoped that it would taste like spinach when we put salt and pepper and butter on it. But trust me, it didn't taste like spinach, because I liked spinach, but I didn't like pigweed. I don't think any of us ate it. Dad wasn't home, so.
When I was about 5 or 6 and started roller skating on the sidewalk on our street, if I fell down and really scraped my knee, I'd dash home, and my mother would clean it off and be loving me the whole time with comments and things, and then she'd put some ointment on it and a Band-Aid, but a big bandage. They weren't Band-Aids like we have now. And then at night, she was afraid that the smaller bandage would come off and the sheet would stick to it, and then that would be painful. So she took a mayonnaise jar cover and put it over the scrape and taped that down to hold it from moving around or falling off, and when I woke up in the morning, it would still be there, and my knee felt a lot better.
Well, I think most of what I know did come from my family. They were, homemaking was their life. They loved being in charge of their house and cooking and cleaning, and my mother was so happy when she could house clean. And I mean house clean. Everything goes outside, and you vacuum the springs, the ones they used to have. It was a horrible time for me. I hated house cleaning day, but
Oh, I loved it. After I learned how, which just came naturally to me, our neighbors would clean up the place that they had to grow a garden. It was quite a big garden, and in the wintertime they would flood that. And when it was frozen, those of us who had skates would go over there and skate. I didn't have any. Mom said I could use hers if I wanted. And I remember them being quite long, black, and lace up. And so I would stuff the toes with old socks and go over to Harding's to skate. And I could skate the first time I tried. It was so fun.
What's the greatest challenge that you've had to overcome in your life?
Well, obviously speech, but and I had all kinds of speech therapy and everything, and I have never had normal speech. I've always been a stutterer because I remember thinking that I was going to kindergarten and I was all pumped up because maybe they can teach me how to speak normally. So I had it for a long time. And I had all kinds of speech therapy, and it kind of helped, just a little bit. But the best therapy I ever had came not from a speech therapist, but from a psychologist that they had come and talk to us. And he said, you guys will never ever be the lead actor on stage ever. But he said, you can build scenery, and you can paint the scenery, and you can sing and dance in the chorus. That's what I did. And you can sell the tickets. And he said, this is the law of compensation, that you do everything you can. Let's see, how did he say it? You pick what you want to do, and you do everything you can in that area. And so that's what I would tell anybody that had any kind of a handicap, to get the best help that you can, and then get as close to normal as possible, and then go ahead and do what you want to do. And don't let it ever become a handicap. Do as much as you can that you want however you can. And don't ever be a victim. Don't ever be a victim. And I kind of haven't. There hasn't been much that I haven't been able to do, and I think it's this attitude. I think it is. And if that will help other people who have handicaps, and everybody has something. Everybody has something. And don't be a victim. Do not be a victim.
John Pratt.
John and Barbara had just finished lunch, and he'd been working in his wood shop, and he said that they needed to go visit me. And Barbara said, we're going to make visits later this afternoon. She was Relief Society president. And John said, something tells me woman needs us now. So they left their house, drove to the hospital in Provo. I was not in my bed, I was in the bathroom. I'd asked the nurse if I could use the bathroom. She said, I'll walk you there. When you're ready to come back, pull a cord and someone will come and walk you to your bed. I called, hearing John, is anybody there? In his soft, sweet voice. And I said, oh, John, I'm in the bathroom, I'll be right out. I pulled the cord, and that's the last thing I remember. Because when they came to get me, I was on the floor, not breathing, and my heart had stopped. And, but I had pulled the cord. So the young a nurse, male nurse came, and he saw me there, so they said he ran to the door and called for another nurse to help. So she came, and they lifted me back to bed, and they rang a code blue. And the Pratt said people came from all over, I mean, the nurses, everybody. There happened to be a pulmonary doctor visiting in the next room. So he came and he took charge of the situation because they assumed it was my lungs that had gotten blood clots. Happens very often. I think about this a lot because John definitely followed the Spirit, and the Lord many times will have us listen to the Spirit because we are to help someone else, or we have a responsibility somehow. John and Barbara Pratt, in essence, saved my life. Because if they hadn't come at that time, I wouldn't have pulled the cord. And if I would have just collapsed without pulling the cord, 4 minutes in your brain dead. So definitely, they saved my life.
Years. When I first went to Calgary, I worked as a teller in a bank. And Melvin Johnson, I think that was his name, came up to one of the dances that we were at. And I didn't know beforehand, but they were going to have a jitterbug contest. And so he was from Barnwell, which is just 5 miles from Tabor. So I knew him. And he asked me to dance. And we won the jitterbug contest. And I remember that they gave us a record or something like that for winning. And I didn't have a record player or anything, so I gave it to him. That was okay.
We'd come back to Tooele every summer to visit family, and one year I met Blaine. My aunt had a little restaurant, and he would eat there, and that's when I met him. And of course, first we talked, got acquainted, and then we had our first date, and then we just dated all the time. And I went back to California, of course, with my family, but I begged and begged to come back to Utah and visit my grandma. But that really wasn't my motive. I was hoping that I would get to see Blaine again, which I did. And I didn't ever go home. We got married. Gosh, that's been almost 66 years ago. Can you believe that? I can't.
I took her out a couple of times.
More than a couple.
And after a while, she said to me, "You've got to learn some Finnish words." And I says, "Okay, I don't know any. You got to tell me." So she said, "Now I want you to repeat after me." And she said, "Minä rakastan sinua." And I said, "What does it mean?" And she says, "I can't tell you, but every time you see me, that's what you've got to say." So I did. Well, that went on for a couple of months, and I said after a while, "You've got to tell me what it means." No, she says, "I can't." And I said, "Why can't you?" She says, "It's too personal." And I said, "Well, that's okay. We know each other pretty well now." And she said to me, "My goodness, minä rakastan sinua. You're getting it well. You're saying it pretty good." And I says, "Yeah, but what does it mean?" And then she told me. And so all this time, I've been telling her that I loved her, and I didn't know it. And she thought that was hilarious. And that got me into trouble.
But you didn't back out.
Because then I had to do something about it. And so that's how it all came about.
That's a good.
I met him at the workplace. And one time at lunch we were talking about airplanes, and I said I'd never been in an airplane, and he said, "Oh, I have a pilot's license, I'll take you up." So he took me up in the airplane. That was our first date. And he always told our kids, I got up to 500 feet, and I said, "Either give me a kiss or walk home."
So I was in Relief Society, and we were talking about this was in about 82, okay, and we were talking about Ecclesiastes and how there is a time for everything, and how our lives are kind of divided up into sections, and the question was, what do you want to do in this coming section? I thought to myself, I want to play the cello. And of course, it wasn't as if I didn't have anything on. I had a kid in college. I had a couple of kids in high school, and a couple of kids in junior high, and one in elementary. I had a couple of church callings. I was working full time and taking call. At our age, you need to have something you love, and if you don't, you die. For my mom, it was writing. She loved that, and for me, it's been that.
Everything good I learned from them. Like good, happy attitude and being grateful and not complaining. I think that's something everybody needs to learn. Fix what you can fix, and then accept what you can't, and enjoy life. But sometimes it takes a lifetime to come to that realization. I think it has taken me a long time. I know the church is true. Just because no matter where you go. It's there, and if you have the right spirit, you feel that spirit.
My sister and I, my older sister and I, were told to go and find the cow one night, one evening, maybe about 5 o'clock anyway. It was just barely getting dark. And we thought we knew right where she was, but we went there and she wasn't there. So I said to Vivian, let's pray. And so we knelt down in that long grass and prayed that we would be able to find the cow. We got up and she was not 20 feet from us. And I'll never forget that. I knew that prayers were answered then if I hadn't known before. But I must have known before because I prayed that we'd find the cow.
Society, especially in this day and age where we have so many competing ideas and influences that are pulling us away from the gospel, is we can support each other. I think this is huge. I think I have a picture of us joining arms and marching forth, because that's kind of what it takes, because we are bombarded and our kids are bombarded with so much stuff that it's going to take us all. It's going to take us all.